You have gone to school for 6 years, attended numerous trainings, and spent hours watching YouTube videos. But the reality is, it's never as easy as everybody makes it look to be. The truth is, unless you have this one ingredient, all these tips and tricks that you're learning will never work.
To have something to do with the secret ingredient.
In this video, I'm going to explain to you that secret ingredient you need to have in order to be effective in your classroom. But first, let's play that intro. I have been on that journey of observing other classes, taking crazy notes, and then trying to take what I saw in that classroom back to my classroom. But it never turned out to be like theirs, and I couldn't figure out what I was missing. What is it going to take to have an effective classroom? And honestly, it took me about 7 years to finally get this down, but this is what I finally realized. That secret ingredient I was missing was the art of teaching. So what is the art of teaching? Now this is where it gets difficult. And the other question is, can you learn the art of teaching? Now that is a tough question as well, but I'll do my best to answer both of those questions. Let me explain it this way. Over the summer, my family and I put together a puzzle. It's like 1,000 puzzle, double-sided. Oh, it was a lot of work. And it was very frustrating as well. But what we noticed is as we started putting the puzzle pieces together, it started for reinforcing the puzzle itself, made the puzzle a little bit stronger. And we, of course, one piece at a time, we eventually finished the puzzle. But then we're really so scared to move it around because we knew just one little mishap, the whole thing would fall apart. That was until my daughter bought some puzzle glue. Once we glued that puzzle pieces together, it was solid. And that is what the art of teaching is. All those different puzzle pieces together are the classroom routines, classroom procedures. But in order to make it stick, in order to make it really solid and firm, you have to apply the glue over all of that.
Glue, baby, buy some glue.
The art of teaching is that grease, that oil that makes the classroom run. And now I know that's a horrible definition, but hopefully I'm painting somewhat of a picture of how I see it in my head. Let me give you two examples of how this can be seen in the class or not seen in the classroom. About 5 years ago, I was a coach to new teachers, and I had these two new teachers. One was a gentleman. He was about 30 years old, about 6 feet tall, pretty good shape and everything else. And the other was a young lady. I think she was like only 23, a little normal height, about 5 foot something. And two different people. Both just graduated, both just got their degrees, and this was their first year in the classroom. My job was to mentor them. So I met with both of them and I gave them my recommendations, my different tips and tricks, and I explained to them what I do in my classroom. They actually came and observed my classroom, but then it's time for me to observe their classrooms. And here's what I noticed with the gentleman. His classroom was a little more, chaotic. There's a lot more behavior issues in it. And it seems like he's always putting out these fires in his classroom.
I'll put out the fire.
But when I visited the ladies' classroom, it was just the opposite. Things were running smoothly. She had the routines and procedures that both of them were using somehow was working in her class. And she wasn't putting out these fires. And students were learning and they were engaged. And when I tried to figure out the difference it was hard to put my thumb on it. But then I finally realized what it was. It was their presence in the classroom. The gentleman seemed to be more upset more often and more passive, while the young lady, she seemed to be calm most of the time, as well as being assertive. So that secret of teaching is that energy you bring to the classroom. The demeanor you need to have in a classroom is one of being calm and assertive. Because trust me, you got to be calm because those kids will test you so many times. And you got to be assertive because they will try to get away with things more often than not.
See, you are calm, assertive, and in control.
Just to clarify, calm and assertive does not mean boring and aggressive. It definitely doesn't mean that. For example, in my classroom, I try to display calm and assertive in my classroom, but yet I'm still trying to be very animated and very excited about what's going on. It sounds very contradictory, but trust me, the balance works. So that secret ingredient, once again, is the energy, the calm and assertive energy you bring into the classroom. But the next part is, can it be learned? The answer is most definitely yes. And I know this because I had to learn to be calm and assertive. It took me about 7 years, but I finally learned to be calm and assertive. Now, I'm calm by nature, so that wasn't too hard. But the assertive part, that is a different ball game for me. By nature, I'm the quiet guy in the back that watches everything happen. And so to be assertive, that was a stretch for me. But I learned, and to be in the classroom, I learned to be that calm and assertive person, and I had to in order to make my classroom be effective. Now, I hope it doesn't take you 7 years like it took me 7 years, so I'm always constantly thinking, how can I make it easier for somebody else? If I was going to try just one thing to learn to be calm and assertive today, what would it be? This is going to sound crazy. Trust me on this, it's going to sound crazy, but here it is. The one thing I would try to do today would be learn to walk a pack of dogs. Let me explain why I say that. So about 6 years ago, my wife was doing something called Rover. And what Rover is people, if they go out of town, they need to leave their dog with somebody. You've called somebody that's on the website Rover, and you leave your dog with them, or they come check in on your dog. And so my wife basically would have people bring their dogs to our house all the time for her to watch. And she was good at this. I mean, she was actually really great at this. And to get good at this, what she did is she started watching a show called The Dog Whisperer, Cesar Millan.
And now back to the Dog Whisperer.
And I started watching the show as well. And over the next year, 2 or 3, we both became really good at introducing dogs and having dogs be in the same household together. No joke, I think the most dogs we had at one time in one day was 15 dogs, 4 of ours and then 11 of other people. We had dogs as small as Chihuahuas, as big as Great Danes. We had pit bulls and everything in between. And I remember myself, my wife, and our 3 kids were walking these 15 dogs down the street. And I gotta tell you, if you see 15 dogs coming at you, people start moving out of the way. But what was a great feeling about that was a realization that her and I, and the kids as well, we could control these 15 dogs. And the way we were able to do it was because we all had calm, assertive energy. And once again, we get this calm, assertive energy, we get that from Cesar Millan. And then when I had a chance to reflect upon why it was successful with the dogs, I realized the same thing it is to be successful with the dogs. That energy is the same kind of energy you need to bring into the classroom, and only made sense. So you can definitely learn to be calm and assertive. Now, I'm not going to promise you anything. If you walk dogs, everything's going to change in your classroom. But if you tried everything else, give this a shot. Just get that skill down of walking dogs, being calm and assertive. In order to walk dogs effectively, you have to be calm and assertive. And then try that same energy you have with those dogs. Once you learn that, apply it to the classroom. Because if you can walk a pack of 15 dogs or even just 2 dogs effectively, then you can run your classroom effectively. If you want more tips and tricks of the trade, just click on one of the links above here. And remember, stay zesty.